Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle and triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. I always love it when I see my guests jamming in the background. It's just the best. Thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Version. The Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Galit. Galit is a serial entrepreneur who dominates her industry. She is the co-founder of Everyday Woman, a 25-year broker slash owner of commercial professionals. She is a paid professional speaker. She coaches women to seven figures, is the author of Successful Woman's Mindset, founder of Everyday Woman TV, and received the award for Entrepreneur of the Year from Silver State Awards. Now, don't think that all of this was handed to Galit. From the age of 7 to 13, she struggled with speaking. She had lost her voice and was enrolled in speaking therapy and had to strain her voice to speak. As she grew up, she ended up in a male-dominated industry and has been dismissed dozens of times. The obstacles that she has overcome in her personal and business life could have deterred her from progressing, but she never let up. Galit is here today to talk about dominating in an industry despite any setbacks that come your way. Welcome, lady.
Oh, thank you so much. I just want to share with you, Sabrina, I love how you described your podcast and your show at the beginning. Those two sentences, that description for me is like everything that you could want a woman to be out there doing for other women. So I just want to share that I just loved it. I'm going to start with that first.
Great intro. Great intro. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. And it's evolved. It's evolved as I've been meeting so many people, and this platform has become a real warm place for me. The women that come on here and share their journeys and their stories and all of these beautiful little nuggets of information. If you listen to all of them, it's transformational for real. It really is.
Yes.
So I so appreciate you taking some time out of your day to hang out with me and talk to all of us and share your journey and your story and where you've been, what you've done. So thank you. How are you doing today, by the way? Happy Thursday.
I'm doing amazing. I'm over on the West Coast. I can't remember where you are, Sabrina. Are you as well?
Florida.
Yeah. So I'm 3 hours. It's a little bit earlier here. It's about 11 a.m. I've already been at it since 7 a.m. because I'm an early bird. I'm doing absolutely amazing. It's gorgeous outside. I have nothing that I can complain about, really.
I love it.
Nothing.
I love it. We're on the opposite beaches because I'm
Yes, we are.
East Coast on the beach, not just East Coast.
Yes, and
That's
I'm
cool.
in Las Vegas in the desert.
Yeah. I was thinking beach because I saw that beautiful scenery behind you.
Oh my gosh, I spend so much time at the beach. That's actually one of the places that I love to go the most, the ocean. And California being so close, I can go often.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I so appreciate you being here. I would love to just kind of hand the floor off to you for a couple minutes just to kind of get an overview of your life and where you've been and your journey, and then kind of just take the conversation from there. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to.
Awesome.
One of the first things I typically love to share that people, when they look at me, because we live in a society where we judge, it is what it is. They don't recognize a lot of times that I am first generation American. Both my parents are immigrants. They moved here right before I was born. My mom was pregnant with me, about 5 months pregnant. My background is Turkish, Moroccan, Italian, and Israeli. And that
Wow.
you can't see from this blonde-haired white girl. One of the funnest things for me to do was to get my DNA done because I don't look what I am. And I'm very light like my father, but my mom is dark. And unfortunately, I didn't get her beautiful olive skin, which I would have just loved to have. So I love to start with that because my father and mother moved to America to chase the American dream. My dad was working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment. It was just me at the time. My brother came 3 years later. And even though I was very little, I was raised in a multicultural home, bilingual. My first language was not English. My second language was English. I'm the first person in my family to graduate college, to get a master's degree, a bachelor's degree. Everything was firsts because I'm the oldest of 4. But I think I love where I came from because it gave me such an understanding of what it is to work hard. But the best part about my childhood is mom was always about the family. She was a full-time mom, full-time PTA mom. She was raising us. Dad was working hard to build the American dream. They just celebrated their 51st anniversary, and they built this beautiful life together and made sure we understood working hard, but playing harder. And that's a big part of what I am and who I am. So from there, really honestly, Sabrina, my story starts probably before that with my voice, and we'll talk about that later. But I have a nodule on one of my vocal cords. So I was not born with this voice. When my vocal cords hit, you get this. A lot of times I get asked, do you have a cold? Do you smoke? No, I don't. Does it hurt to speak? No, it doesn't. I just sometimes get colds and stuff like that, but it's benign. It's not dangerous. And I decided not to have surgery when I was 16. We'll talk about that later. And I really wanted to embrace what I was given, which I believe God gave me. And then he helped me literally find my voice when I was 13 in speech therapy. From there, yeah, and I was terrified to speak in public. It was the most scariest thing in the world the first day of school. And my story really goes from there, and building the courage as I got older to embrace that I was different, between having parents with accents, having a different name, being bilingual, being a different religion than most people, and recognizing that I had to kind of just embrace who I am. And when I was graduating college, all my friends were starting to look for jobs, and I just didn't want to work for anybody. And I got to see my dad build this entrepreneurial world because he went from working for somebody else 6-7 days a week, 16 hours a day, to building one of the largest companies on the West Coast for cabinets and selling it for millions of dollars when I was probably around 12. Wow. So I got to see this progression, and I said, wait, I don't have to do what is expected of me. Graduate college, go work for somebody. And that's how I started my entrepreneurial world and journey. And I got my real estate license at the age of 21, opened my first company at the age of 24. I've had it now for 25 years. You now know how old I am. And I started my first company right before I had my first child, which is 25 and a half years old today.
What?
Yeah.
Happy birthday to him, her. I
have 3 boys, so.
Awesome. I love that. Wow, real estate at 21. How was that? Was that scary?
Well, I originally went into what was expected. Here we go again. You're going to hear me say that a lot, Sabrina. It was expected I was a woman, so go get your license and sell homes. Now, I was way younger than the average age of an agent. At the time, most agents were doing this as their second career. They might have been in their 30s or their 40s.
Yeah.
But I went into residential. It was not for me. It was way too emotional. I really like business. And I started there. Didn't like it, didn't go as well, decided to become an intern for a very large commercial real estate group at the time, which had 2 women on the team, which was a very big deal because it was mostly men and over the age of 40.
Okay. Wow. What do you mean too emotional?
I have a master's degree in therapy. I'm going to share that because a lot of what I share is based on therapy models. But one of the most stressful things you will ever go through in your life is buying a home.
Wow,
So there's a
really?
lot of emotion. Yeah, it's the top two. It's losing someone you love and buying a home.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's pretty emotional. You know, it's a big deal to sell your home. It's a big deal to buy a home. And I found that for me at that time, being so young, hadn't even bought my first home yet, there was a lot of emotion involved when working. The buyers and the sellers had a lot of emotion. And it wasn't for me because I knew it wasn't. Some people do a great job with it. That's why I ventured over into the commercial real estate world, because it's really business. It's numbers. It's what is the building going to make me? How much return can I have? You're
Wow.
working with business people. So it's a little bit different than sales. And I found that fit me a little bit more than selling. Instead of selling homes, I found commercial real estate fit me a bit more.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense. Besides living with my parents, I've never lived in a house and made it a home because while I was working, I was traveling so much. I've moved literally like 12 times in the last,
Wow.
I don't even know, like 10 years or something. Well, more than that. But I was always moving in order to like build the business bigger. So I never paid attention to my house. But I could see that if you're living in a house for 20, 30 years and you've done all the things, yeah, that would be emotional. I get
And
that.
sometimes it's related to moving, a death in the family that you need to sell,
Got
losing
it.
a job. There's so many different things associated with that. And it's common that it's an emotional thing. And it's not easy to move either. Moving is just not a fun thing for most people.
Yeah. What's the other language you speak?
Hebrew.
Hebrew. Wow.
Yeah,
And then is your first name Galit? Is that Hebrew?
it
No
is.
kidding.
Yeah.
I like your name. I think it's beautiful.
Oh,
Galit.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's tough when you're growing up because we're supposed to fit in these boxes and be like everybody else.
Yeah.
But when you learn to embrace your uniqueness, and of course it takes some time,
Yeah.
then you appreciate it. And I love having this name today. And there aren't a lot of us, meaning in my city, or it's, I can't tell you the last time I ran into a Galit. There's a few in my city that I know because we all know each other. There's maybe one or two, but it became part of my uniqueness and just kind of worked with everything else that I was.
Yeah. It's so interesting hearing you say that because you don't at I've only lived in the US. So I don't realize that uncommon names here are potentially common somewhere else. So that's interesting hearing you say that.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, I'm like, I would never.
Very common.
Wow.
Yes, very common name, especially for my age group, because names have age groups. And my age group, when I was running down the beach visiting over there in Israel, my parents, I would hear my name and I think it was my parents, and it wasn't. It was a very common name. I actually would compare it to the name Jennifer. Very common. Mm,
No.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, that is so interesting. I
yeah.
love that. So you must love it here. You're like one and only. You could be like an oak.
Well, I want to hope each of us are one and only, but my name helps a little bit, right? And
Yes.
completely funny story, Sabrina. In
Yeah.
the last year, I friended this amazing musician. Her name is Galit as well.
Uh-huh.
And we're very close, and she's amazing. She's doing fabulous things with her music. She's a beautiful voice. She's a mom as well, and not 20 something, just starting out in the business. And so she's sending me screenshots or tagging me, and it says Galit, and she only uses her first name, and it says Galit Music. And I love it because she's getting all these accolades, and I get to feel like I'm getting them too because it's the same name.
Yes, yes. I totally get that. I love that. So fun. Well, definitely a journey. Definitely a journey. I so appreciate that. And you started out so young, in an industry that I don't think that that is normal. I so give you some applause for that because I feel like by that age or at that age, because you had to have been studying when you were 20. I mean, that's a feat to even think that that's something that was possible for you to do. That's awesome. I feel like I would have been too scared to do that at 20. Like almost
I
like how dare I?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I get asked often why did you get into the industry, and I'll share that, and why how were you comfortable with it. I'm going to be honest. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I didn't have a fear that a lot of people have, which is fear of failure. I now work with women to show them how to get past it in their business. And I don't think failure scared me because I had experienced quite a bit younger. My best friend committed suicide when I was 15 years old, and I was one of the last people she spoke to. And I never blamed myself. I went through and took care of myself and self-care. And I experienced, of course, the voice thing at such a young age with kids being so mean. Not everybody, but there's always kids that are
Yeah.
mean. And then moving to a different city when I was 14, which is Las Vegas, and having to kind of re-explain my name and re-explain my voice and and be in high school when you're trying to find your corner and you're like, and I had so many amazing people that supported me and loved me, but there's always those kids that don't understand why you're different again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you ask, a little while ago, I asked my mom, I said, Mom, did I ever say to you I wanted to be a speaker or an author? Or when I got, are you crazy? You never mentioned any of that. It was nothing I ever thought to do.
Wow.
It was just something I was supposed to, aside from the commercial real estate. But I would probably say, Sabrina, when I was that young, I knew I loved business. I got my first degree in business. I knew I wanted to do something that people wouldn't tell me what I could and couldn't do. And I never actually probably even thought of what the industry was like because I didn't concern myself with the people that weren't going to approve of me, even though I've spent so much time proving myself because
Yeah.
that's what you have to do in this industry. But I think I just wanted it. And I was like, all right, we'll figure it out as we go along. And I failed a lot and I figured out some of it and I didn't figure out some of it. And it made me who I am today so I can show other women how to do it too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I want to ask, through your journey and all of the ups and downs that you've kind of been through, one of the biggest things that has gotten me to where I am now is the areas in which there was some sort of not so good thing that happened, whether it's a trauma or whether it's a failure or something of the sorts. I want to ask, what would you consider to have been like your biggest failure, the biggest thing that's kind of happened in your life, and what did you learn from that experience?
Professionally, I will share with you that I don't know that it's a failure. I think it was more of a challenge for me because it was so challenging, but I had to be in commercial real estate during the recession in 2008, 2009. And I was, from the day I got in, I was in an up and it was nonstop, right? What did I get my license? 1997. So I was going, or 1995, I think even, and I was going and going. And then all of a sudden, 2007, 2008 showed up, and you're in survival mode. And I have agents that are looking at me, right, to go into terrified mode. And I've got to make sure that I'm standing strong, and you have to pivot. That was a word we used then, not just now, where I had to figure out how do I survive because I'm not selling properties anymore. So I had to figure out the challenge of I don't want to fail,
Yeah.
even though your income drops and so much changes. So I sat back and I said to myself, okay, I think that's a story I share a lot, especially when I talk about leadership in my talks, because everyone was looking at me to see what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Because, oh gosh, if Galit's freaking out, how are we going to keep it together? And I had to show up every day at work, even though inside I was freaking out. And I had to be like, okay, what are we saving today? And we literally, Sabrina, for 2 to 3 years, all we did was save properties for owners, figuring out how they could pay their mortgage, how to get the tenants to stay, figuring out how to buy the notes in auction. I mean, it was the most amazing learning experience for 3 years. I could have never learned that in school. I could have
Wow.
never learned it. Yeah.
Wow. No kidding. Definitely something as far as showing resilience. That's
Yes.
like a whole nother level. That's a lot of weight on your
Yes.
shoulder.
Yes. And
Wow.
I think for me, the dealing with your biggest failure, and it's not that I don't want to share a failure. I think it's my personality. I'm going to be really honest, Sabrina. When I look back at my life, I don't look at the things that I've accomplished or not accomplished as a failure, because I learned something from every single
Yeah.
situation. And you ask, how do you, like, if you said to me, how do you deal with your biggest failure? My response to you would be, the way that I deal with my biggest failure is I better learn something from that, because I don't want to do it again. And I
Yeah.
don't want to fail again. So for me, it's what lessons can I learn from where I failed? So it could be different, because one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is they don't stop. They don't stop and look at their failure and recognize, okay, this is on me. First of all, stop blaming everybody else. This
Mhm.
is on me. Yes, there are consequences and environments, and yes, but at the end of the day, what could I do differently so it doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
Learn from that and then get right back out there. Like, don't stop,
Yeah.
but stop just to be aware and get right back out there.
Yeah, 100%. Where do you think that that comes from? Because I feel like there are two different types of people with that. Um, do you think that comes from something?
Yeah, I a lot of people ask me how I am so optimistic and positive and I have a mindset that's successful, and I say, first of all, trial and error. You got to go through the failures. Here we go. You got to go through the failures and you got to give yourself a chance to learn from them. I think that I believe some people are born with an optimistic mindset. I'm going to be honest with you.
I
I
think so
do.
too.
But I also think that you can be taught it. And I think that you can change it, because I don't wake up every day like this automatically. You have to put in the work to work on yourself every single day. And I want to be someone that spends the rest of my life bettering myself. So, what that entails is looking at your crap and looking at what doesn't work and looking at what you don't like about your life and yourself. And sometimes that's not easy for people, because then you have to make changes that are not easy, right? I
Yeah.
got a divorce after being with someone for 19 years. I turned my world upside down. It was the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life,
Wow.
but it had to be done. And so sometimes we don't stop and look at our life and understand it. And for me, I start and end with myself every day. I don't blame people for the things that have happened to me. I don't talk about people in that way. It's me. Where was my part? Because every failure that I experienced, I had something to do with. It's just what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the stuff that you're saying is, you know, why people go into personal development or why they read books on, personal
Yeah.
growth. Um, do you think the fact that maybe you got into real estate fairly long and kind of were introduced to sales and kind of that mindset, do you think that helped? Or do you think that from 7 years old, you were already understanding the concept of this?
Oh, I definitely wasn't understanding it that young. I think when I look back at my childhood, I was very blessed to have a pretty amazing childhood, and that helps too. I'm not going to lie, when you're not coming from lots of trauma. But I also experienced my voice from 7 to 13. I experienced suicide at 15. And then at 18, I also had a really good friend one of my best friends go through a very traumatic event of losing his entire family in the same night. And
Wow.
I think that for me, it's a development that occurred each year with each experience. So for me personally, it's based on seeing that life can go like that and recognizing that tomorrow's not promised. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm thankful I woke up.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't wrap their head around that type of mindset because they're too focused on all the negative things going in their life.
Yeah.
And for me, a lot of it is, if I find my mind going there, I know what tools to use now to get me back to this. And sometimes people will say to me, you're always smiling. You're always happy. I go, no, I'm human. How can I know what happy is if I don't know what sad is?
Yeah.
How can I know what success is if I don't know what failure is? I've experienced them all. I just prefer being up here to down here. Down here, no, it's no fun.
Yeah.
It's just no fun for me.
Yeah. I love that you're saying that, because I think a lot of times individuals don't realize the importance of having some sad things happen, because that's how you get to enjoy fully, when you're the exact opposite of that. There is joy also in sadness or fear or pain, because then when it's, when it goes to the opposite side, it feels that much better. I totally
I
agree.
love that you said that. I think that was such a beautiful statement. Joy and sadness. I lost one of my closest friends in March 2020. So many people watching and listening lost somebody they loved in the last few years. She was young. She was 44, 45 years old, and it shouldn't have happened.
Wow.
And I mourn her, but every time I think of her, I see her beautiful smile and how much time we got to spend together. At her memorial, I had hundreds of pictures of us together. And so it's not always easy. I'm not sharing that, and everyone's grief is different. So this is not me saying that you can be like this. That's something you have to figure out. But for me, I find joy in knowing how many birthdays we spent together, how many times we went out of town, how many events we went to together, how many pictures. Like, I feel like even the time we had together was so amazing that when I get sad, and I do, I see her face, and then it makes me feel better.
Yes. What was her name?
Kimberly.
Kimberly.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Hello, Kimberly.
Yes.
You know, reading off your intro and, knowing all of the things that you have done and all of the things that you have come into you in the future, a lot of times, individuals can look at you and just think, you are where you are and good for you. But I like to notate, that it didn't happen just within the blink of an eye. There was steps that kind of went along with, you going from 20 years old to where you are now. Could you maybe give us an oversight of maybe like 3 steps that you took or more to get from mentally, emotionally, physically, from here to where you are now? Because it's not just a snap
Absolutely.
of a
I had a very successful, let's say successful, appreciative work ethic from a very young age. I got my first job at an age where you had to get your parents to sign a piece of paper to get you a worker's permit. I was 15 and a half. That was a choice. I didn't have to work. I was very thankful. My parents said, you don't need to work. I'm like, doesn't matter. I want to. So I would say the first thing that I would share with you to get to that mindset is you've got to first do something you love. And I'm going to come from a business perspective because my brain is always in the business end.
Yeah, mine
But
too.
you've got to
I
do
love it.
something you love, right? If you
Yeah.
wake up every morning and you hate what you do, that's going to start your day off on the wrong foot. I do my best to love everything I choose to do. It's not humanly possible to love everything. Like, I've got to pick up the dog poop after I get off this. It's just what it is. I got to do the dishes, and I have to. If I don't do them, they're not going to get done. Yeah. But I do my best to do what I love every day, especially in my profession, which we spend a third of our life in at least. If you're an entrepreneur, you're spending way more than that. So that's the first thing I would do, is say, love what you do. The second thing I would say is gratitude. I'm not who I was 30, 40 years ago. Okay. I'm going to be 50 this year. I am proud to say that. And I am not the same person I was 20 years ago. I didn't have the same patience that I have today. That's the number one thing I grew the most in. Having 3 little children under 7, I had my first at 24 years old. And you don't have the kind of patience. So I would highly recommend that you step back and you ask yourself, What am I thankful for? And there are days where you really need to search and you really need to dig. I know people that lost husbands during the crazy times, and they're young like me, and it can't be easy to find it.
Yeah.
But if what other choice do we have, especially in hard times? So the second thing I would say is wake up every morning and find at least 3 things to be grateful for that day. I don't care if it's the clouds in the sky. I live in a beautiful sunny state. Some people are in snow. Well, that's something to be grateful for. I don't like the cold. So I would absolutely suggest gratitude every single day. And the third thing that I would say, the third step would be you've got to work on your mind every day. What does that mean? For whatever reason, our minds are programmed to focus more on negative than positive. Mm-hmm. And I told you, I went and I got a master's degree in therapy. I even worked as a therapist for a while. And I learned so much about the models of therapy. And what I could share is if you work on those negative thoughts every single day with positive thoughts, they do go away, because mine are not there 95% of the time now. Yeah. And I'm more present, I'm more relaxed, I'm more calm because I work on it every single day.
Absolutely. What would you say to somebody who does aspire to be bigger than they are now, but are scared, nervous, timid? Yeah. What's the first, like, what do they do? Where do they start?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say, and this is not my tagline, it's Nike, so I'm giving them credit, is just do it. Now, that sounds way simpler, obviously, because Galit, it's not that simple. Either I don't know how. These are the things I hear a lot of. Okay, Sabrina, I don't know how. I'm terrified. What if I fail? Yeah. Those are the biggest 3 things that I hear from everybody. So what I could share with you is this. There are millions and millions and millions of people in this world that know how to do the things you don't know how to do that you might want to learn to do. Find them. That's the first thing. The second thing I would say is you've got to be surrounded by supportive people, because if people are not supporting you and you're terrified, it makes it even more challenging because they're questioning you and you're now going to agree. Oh, you're right. I shouldn't do this. So you've got to surround yourself with supportive people and you've got to start. And the last thing you need to do is just do one different thing this week. Add one thing to your list, just the smallest, littlest thing. Make one phone call, research online for that school you want to go to. Find that one person you want to be like and start following them on social media and watching their videos. There's so many things today. We live in a technology world. I come from a world where when I started in commercial real estate, there was no technology.
Yeah.
Today, everything is at your fingertips. Just be open and learn.
I love that you're talking about community and making sure who you're talking to and who you're kind of hanging around, because I honestly think that is one of the biggest things for me. I had to let go of a handful of relationships because they just weren't viewing life as big as I was viewing life. And I was finding myself having to downplay myself a lot and minimizing my wins because I didn't want to offend or I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I didn't want to look braggadocious. So, you know, I love that you have to kind of level up. And it's not to say that you have to like drop all your friends. A lot of times they just kind of like find their own way out of your life slowly. But getting around people who get it, you know, who get it.
Yes.
Even just you saying like, hey, I'm going to answer this as a business. I'm going to answer this more of a bit because that's where your mindset is. So if you're in a position where you're like, hey, I want to like start doing this entrepreneurship, finding individuals like you who are consistently looking to grow and talk business and expand and build that empire. There's people like that at all levels. You know, just starting out, middle, you know, so getting around those people. And like you said, with Facebook and stuff, there's groups everywhere.
So I know you didn't set me up for a plug, but I'm going to share it anyways. Yeah. In March 2020, my business partner, Angela, and I, as everybody else, our businesses came to a halt. We had a little bit of free time. So we started Everyday Woman. And The name of the Facebook group is called Women Supporting Women Professionals and Entrepreneurs and has over 13,000 members. And that is a group just like that. You come and we do speed networking events. We have so many things we do not charge for that we wanted to build what Sabrina's talking about because we felt like women more than anything in March 2020 were scrambling to figure out how they were going to support their families. How are they going to get clients for their businesses? And that was the key to that. So I love that you said that, even though I didn't ask you to. It was perfect.
Yes, absolutely. But that exactly. So connecting with you and then finding that Facebook group, immediately you're in and amongst all levels of females.
Yes.
Is it all females?
All females, only females.
Yeah, who are in the mindset of business. So linking up with people like that and sharing your thoughts, sharing your fears in a forum like that is where you want to be.
Yeah, and we wanted to build what we love most about our group is, and we do these speed networking events once or twice a month where women get to break out and actually get to know each other. It's not just show up and listen to us talk. We talk for 3 minutes because we found this world has become so small because of technology. Why not take advantage of it and get to know women from all walks of life? But our favorite thing that people say about our group is that it's so approachable, and any age, any backgrounds, any businesses, professionals, whatever you're in, it just works because we focus on being a woman and having a drive, and the rest is just what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely beautiful. I love that.
Thank
What's
you.
the number one lesson you've learned about life?
The number one lesson I've learned about life is that I have a choice every day to choose to be happy, to choose to live my best life, and to not be my own, to not be my own limitation. So no limits, no limits, no limits. That's my biggest lesson.
When do you think you learned that lesson? Did you just learn that yesterday?
Oh, no, not yesterday. Maybe the day before. No, I'm just kidding. I would probably say in some shape or form, I've been learning it my whole life, but I think I finally got it probably about 7 years ago. Like it just finally made sense because I started my online business Empowering You about 5.5 years ago, and I was ready. It was like, I know I get this. I want now to show other women how to get it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm starting to recognize in this era of women kind of finding their power in their, late 30s, 40s, 50s, or what have you. Yeah. And there's individuals like yourself and myself who are, shouting different ways of doing things, different ways of thinking. Do you think that with our push, we'll be able to hit women at a younger age where they don't have to fumble around until their late 30s? Or do you think that that's kind of, you're not able to really grasp that until that age?
Well, the goal is for them to grasp it younger. That's the goal. I believe with the technology that we have today, that so many women, and I know so many of them, can choose to and continue to be a positive role model and motivate those younger generations. And I'm seeing it. So I'm going to use commercial real estate for an example. Okay, Sabrina, I've been involved in an international organization for years called Commercial Real Estate Women Crew. And they have chapters all over the world. And we have one here in Vegas. And there are younger women coming to the luncheons now that want to learn about the field. And these women that are my age and even a little bit older are out there saying, I want to mentor you. And so I mentor women. I've been mentoring women and men, by the way, my entire career. And I think that it will make a difference in the different professions. I think the biggest challenge is, as women in male-dominated industries, we must, and I'm going to say must because I'm going to go there, we must mentor the younger generation. So I'm a volunteer at the university here that I'm like, hey guys, put me to work. And they have a real estate degree, a bachelor's in real estate. So it's just one example. But if you're an engineer, if you're a scientist, if you're there's so many male dominated industries, lawyers, whatever it might be, I think that we almost owe it to our legacy and to the younger generation to show them that there are women out there that are willing to have their back, because it just makes it easier. And by the way, there are great male mentors out there as well for women. I've experienced them and I know other people that have, but I'm specifically speaking about women because we're on her version.
Yes. I totally get that. That makes sense. I appreciate everything you're saying. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to talk for a little bit about belief systems. We were kind of touched on how we're doing our best to push the age a little bit younger as to, personal development and kind of understanding mental health and emotional health earlier than I did or you did. One of the issues that I dealt with a lot all the way through until I was 30, probably, is disempowering beliefs, believing something, being told from either my parents or my religion or my peers or society to do something a certain way, to believe something was true or not true. One of the ones that, hit me, that I really clung on to, was that women can't be successful, only men can be successful. Only men have to make more money than the woman. And this was something that I clung on to, like I said, until my early 30s. And anything other than that kind of scared me. It didn't seem like it was possible, even though at that time, there was so many women, even at that point, that were succeeding, that were stepping into their own, on their own, with no help from a man. Do you have, through your journey, do you have, or did you have, any disempowering beliefs that you kind of had to change as you got older?
I talk a lot about limited beliefs, which is really the same thing. And I've even taught classes on how to overcome them. There's a great thing online if you Google 7 steps to overcoming a limited belief. It's not mine. It's just something I share in my presentations. I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful model. Limited belief or disempowering belief. Well, I'm human. I've probably had many, many, many of them in my life. I think as women, we're probably really tough on ourselves. And so when I look back, I was for years a self-professed perfectionist. And I think maybe my disempowering belief was maybe perfection. You got to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. And perfect doesn't exist. And striving for it is impossible. So for me, the one that I've bam, baseball batted out of the field is definitely perfection. Just let it go, guys. I'm going to make a fool out of myself. I'm going to mess up. I get paid to speak and I still mess up. So when you let go of perfection, man, the world opens up for you. It's like a playground of fun. And I think the other one probably is caring what other people think. Oh my God, I'm so over that. Like, if you don't like me, I don't really care. But when we're younger, we want everybody to like us and we're people pleasers. And I just am not everyone's cup of tea. And I've accepted that and I'm good with that. And I'm loved by so many people around me for exactly who I am, which, please, if you're not, find those people, because you will be loved for who you are. I promise you.
Yeah. I love that you're saying that 100%. Well, listen, we have so many people here hanging out with us, chilling, listening. We're almost at an hour and they're hanging on to every word and appreciating everything you're saying. Obviously, they're resonating with your words and your story and your journey you've been on. So I kind of want to ask, What is your business? What do you do for all the humans?
Ooh, so I have a few businesses, as Sabrina mentioned. I have the commercial real estate business that I've been broker owner of for 25 years, and we manage, lease, sell multi-million dollar in commercial real estate properties. I now, because I've been doing it so long, I'm getting into development and also, of course, investing myself. I'm really excited about a project I have coming up in the next few months that I'm part of developing and creating. And 5.5 years ago, I wanted to show women how to be successful because I've been working with so many men for so long. And I started Empowering You, which really is working with women to show them how to be successful in their business through marketing and effectivity, efficiency, productivity, lead gen, and all of those things. My goal is to get every woman to 7 figures, because 4.2% of women-owned businesses are making 7 figures or more. That's a statistic by the National Association of Women Business Owners. I mean, it's legit, guys. It's out there, and I'm over it. I'm over it. More women need to be making more money because you deserve it, because money's fun. There's nothing wrong with money. And I do corporate training and development as well. And then, as I mentioned to Sabrina, in March 2020, we started Everyday Woman. And one of our most fun projects is we now have Everyday Woman TV. I don't even know if Sabrina knows.
I do. I saw it.
Did you?
I saw
Everyday Woman TV launched in November. We have 35 shows today.
Wow.
And we're growing by 2 to 5 shows a week, meaning different women creating their own shows, because Everyday Woman really is on the platform of you've got to be known and seen to get more clients. And our women all have their own businesses. And that's what Everyday Woman TV is. So you can check that out. It's on 19 platforms, Amazon, Apple, Roku, smart TVs, it's everywhere. So our goal is to grow that to a household name and to have it everywhere so women can share their expertise. Yeah.
Absolutely. So cool. I didn't realize that there was that many on there.
Yes. So if you go now, there might not all be on there just today because they're still developing their shows. By the end of the March, we'll have 35 live, but we're also adding 2 to 5 new shows a week. And, it takes a little time. It takes about 2 to 4 weeks for them to get on there.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. That is awesome. And that just started in 2020 also.
2021. March 2020, we started Everyday Woman. And then we just started the TV channel in November.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. What does success mean to you?
The first word that comes to me is happiness. And I always share the first thing. I don't think about what I say. Happiness. For me, success is based on being happy. And I would say for each person, it's different. So for me, happiness is, because I have to explain what happiness is because it's success, is a balance of work and life. And this is where people get a little funny. What do you mean? How can I get to 7 figures if I actually have a life? Yes, you can. I've raised 3 children and I travel regularly. I take weekends off, not all the time every weekend, but most weekends. And for me, success means finding happiness and doing what you love and making a difference in the world. And for me, success is just based on all of those things.
That's great. That's great. One of the things that I love to do is give advice, or have my guests give advice. This platform was originally started because of my past with narcissistic abuse. So the foundation of the members are from some sort of abuse. And a lot of times those individuals, are still trying to find themselves. They're still trying to figure themselves out and find their own voice and find their own power, whatever that looks like. And I'd like to kind of ask you, for them and for everyone who's listening right now, what would be some advice that you would give to a female listening who is struggling with becoming their authentic self?
The first thing I would say is that if you've gone through a difficult thing in your life, a trauma or an unpleasant experience, everybody has different levels. And I think that you need to make sure that you're getting the mental health piece first. So
Okay.
please get help. Obviously, I believe in therapists. I had a therapist before my divorce and throughout my entire process. And I think that I'm thankful for therapy and I recommend it to a lot of people. So first, let's take care of the mental health and get a professional to help you. The second thing that I would say is it gets better. I've been at the back of the closet in fetal position, crying like I thought my life was over. Never did I ever think to cause that, but it felt like it. So I would highly recommend that you recognize that that's part of the process. And what happened to me was I allowed myself to feel what I needed. I got the support that I needed from friends, family, and therapists. But I also recognized that to get better, I needed to push myself to places that weren't always comfortable. So staying in the back of that closet would have been way more comfortable for me some days than getting up, putting on my dress, fixing my hair, putting on my makeup, and getting the heck out of the house.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to do things that feel forced, but I'm promising you that it gets better. And to be your genuine and authentic self, I'm going to go back to recognizing that it's possible that many of you have experienced situations where you are not permitted to be your genuine, authentic self. And if that is the case, it is time for you to recognize, hopefully you're out of those situations and you're healing, that it's time for you to surround yourself with people that allow you to be yourself no matter what. As long as you're a kind person, and please be kind, you deserve to be who you are. I don't care if it's goofy. I don't care if it's serious. I don't care what it is. But surround yourself and find those groups. And Sabrina mentioned there is no lack of place today for women to support women. And if you're in the wrong group and they're not supporting you, get the heck out.
Yeah.
If it's a local support group in person, if it's a virtual support group. When I got divorced, I started a private support group for divorced women on Facebook. No one could even find it. You had to be personally invited and speak to me before I would even let you in. So there are places for those things. Okay. There are places for that.
Absolutely. And again, that's community, right?
Yes.
Bringing it back to, finding the people that will listen, support, understand, and be there for you. And it's so imperative to find that because, when you're in a place where you're feeling as if you're not being listened to in any situation where you feel like you can't be your true authentic self, it's difficult, so we've said that several times throughout this podcast. It's so important to make sure that you're finding a community. And the commute. Can you repeat your Facebook group?
Oh, yeah. So if you go to Facebook and you look up Women Supporting Women Professionals and Entrepreneurs, you can also private message me. I'm happy to just send you the link.
Beautiful.
But the name of the group is Women Supporting Women Professionals and Entrepreneurs, but you'll see the Everyday Woman logo and you'll know that it's by Everyday Woman.
Awesome. And then your website is above your face area. Can they find?
Yes, it's just my full name.
Okay. Can they find everything that you were
Yeah.
talking about there? Okay.
Everything is on there. Yeah. All my companies, direct links to all the websites, contacting me through there. Everything is on the website.
Absolutely beautiful. Well, listen, Galit, I so appreciate you hanging out with me and sharing so many awesome goodies along with the journey that you've been through over the past almost 50 years. You're looking good, girl.
Oh, thank you. Happiness is the best thing for wrinkles.
Yes. I love
Except for the smile lines.
I know I'm getting those too. I was talking to my mom the other day. I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes this online thing, it can really get to you because I'm just staring at my face compared to the other person's face for hours a day, between clients and podcasts and Zoom meetings and conferences, all this stuff. It's like, it kind of gets to you a little bit. So I totally know what you mean, but
Yeah, and I'm going to say you recognize that you're beautiful within yourself, and comparing ourselves to somebody, we never know. Sabrina, we never know the story of that person. We've
Yeah.
all heard that Instagram versus reality, right?
Yeah.
How many times have we seen this perfect world on Instagram, and then the next day there's like complete chaos and in the news and all this crazy stuff about that person? So we never know what that other person is going from the outside. I just did a video about this morning for my TikTok. From the outside, I'm a girly girl. I love having my hair done. I've got my lashes, my nails. I love this stuff. This is like love. But I mentioned in my video, it doesn't mean nothing if you don't love yourself inside.
Yeah.
This is all fake if
Yeah.
this isn't beautiful. When
Yeah.
this is beautiful, this is accentuated, right?
Yeah.
Everything looks better because this is genuine and authentic.
Yes, yes, yes. What a great way to close the show.
Thank you.
Perfect timing on that one. I love it. Well, listen, I am going to go ahead and wrap up. For those of you that are watching live, we so appreciate you being here and supporting us and listening in. For those of you that want to learn more about Galit and all of the awesome things that she is doing in her world, make sure you check out her website right above the her box over there. Galit, any closing thoughts before I close us up here?
Well, it is Women's History Month, and we just had Women's International Day. I think it was just 2 days ago. I would probably say being a woman is an amazing thing. Embrace it, embrace yourself, love yourself, and recognize that you really are going to be the first person that's going to treat you the way you deserve. And do it. Be kind to yourself. Like, we're not kind to ourselves as women. And I just want every woman to recognize how amazing and wonderful and beautiful you are and unique in your own way. And stop comparing yourself to other people, because you are awesome exactly the way you are.
Yeah, yeah, agree. And when you start comparing yourself to other people, that's when you kind of paralyze yourself, freeze yourself, and stop moving forward. So you just got to get over all of it and just keep hitting those goals. Just keep hitting
Woo!
those goals. All right. Well, thank you so much for Galit, and thank you so much for everyone here listening live. If you're watching us on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay so that we know that you were here listening in and we can share our love. Oh, this has been great. This community is expanding every single day, and it is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you subscribe, like, and share. If you have a story to share, make sure you reach out to me in person or at herversion.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. I am so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others. Do something awesome today. Much love.